Here's a full, engaging emotional narrative based on the real viral video titled, "Mom's Sick, So I Came Instead." It's a heart-touching story shared widely online about a little girl showing up to her mom's blind date and changing everything. YouTube.com+1. From the moment she swung open the cafe door, her tiny shoulders squared like she was carrying the weight of the world. Mom's sick, so I came instead. 4 simple words that shattered every expectation he'd walked in with. The man at the table, well-dressed, calm, poised, was prepared for conversation, not a child. But here she was, no bigger than 8, clutching a small backpack, her eyes a mixture of worry and unwavering purpose. YouTube.com. He froze. He was here for a blind date, arranged by mutual friends who promised laughter, connection, maybe something real. But instead of the woman he expected, a warm smile, a twinkle of shared curiosity, he was met by her daughter, a little ambassador of truth. The cafe buzzed around them, but those words pressed silence into his chest. Mom's sick, so she sent her daughter. It wasn't the first awkward moment he'd had in life, but it might be the most unforgettable. YouTube.com. He introduced himself gently. "Hi, I'm Mark." She introduced herself back, "Ella." No hesitation, no embarrassment, just straight to the truth, like she'd rehearsed her message 100 times just to get it exactly right. And maybe she had, because in her eyes flickered something rare, responsibility beyond her years. YouTube.com. She slid into the chair opposite him, folded her hands, and without a hint of childish awkwardness, began talking. "Mom asked me to tell you she's sorry. She really wanted to meet you." And in those moments that followed, a story began to unfold, one far richer than a simple blind date ever could have been. YouTube.com. The heart of the story. Mark learned that Ella's mom, Rebecca, had been nervous for days. She'd been a single parent since her husband passed away 3 years earlier. Dating, especially after loss, meant confronting fear, vulnerability, the possibility of hope, and hurt. She practiced outfits, drank cold coffee waiting for courage to arrive, then canceled, and rescheduled, and doubted. What if she wasn't ready? What if she failed again? YouTube.com. That morning, she'd woken with a fever so high she couldn't stand, let alone meet someone new. But she didn't want Mark to think she didn't care. So she did what any parent with a brave heart and limited energy would do, she sent her daughter. YouTube.com. Mark listened. At first he asked the usual questions expecting hesitant replies, but Ella answered with astonishing insight. What her mom liked to cook, how she played piano on Sunday mornings, the way she paused mid-laugh as if she measured happiness before letting it escape. She talked about late-night stories before bed, rainy afternoon baking, and the way her mom's footsteps sounded around the house, familiar, comforting, safe. By the time the cafe waiter approached with a fresh lemonade for her and coffee for Mark, the man had stopped thinking about awkwardness. He was listening to a child describe a woman he wanted to meet. YouTube.com. A turning point. Halfway through their conversation, Ella's initial nervous energy shifted into something lighter. "Do you like stories?" she asked. "I do," he replied, intrigued. So she told him one. A silly tale about a cat who thought it could fly, but only managed hilarious belly flops. Mark laughed harder than he had in months. The tension eased. The laughter became real. The moment became something neither of them expected. YouTube.com. But then came a quiet breath from Ella. "Mom's been hurt before," she said softly, "and she's scared to try again." She said maybe you could show her what courage feels like. Mark looked into her eyes, surprised at the honesty, wisdom too old for her years. And in that second, something shifted in him, too. The uncertainty he'd felt about dating, fear of opening his heart again, it melted a little. YouTube.com. The resolution. Time passed. The afternoon sun softened to evening glow. Eventually, Mark stood to leave, not with disappointment or awkwardness, but with a plan. "I'd love to meet your mom properly," he told Ella. "When she's feeling better." She beamed. "She will be," she declared. "Because you didn't laugh at her. You laughed with me." YouTube.com. Mark walked out of the cafe holding a small bouquet he'd bought on a whim, ready to deliver it to Rebecca. It wasn't what he came for. No dinner, no poised conversation, no practiced introductions, but it was what he needed, a reason to be brave. YouTube.com. Final message. Life rarely gives perfect moments. It gives real ones, funny, awkward, vulnerable, honest. Sometimes love isn't found in beautiful entrances or planned conversations. Sometimes it steps in through the voice of a child in a white dress, reminding us that courage doesn't wait for perfection. It shows up, often in the most unexpected way, and asks us to meet it with an open heart. YouTube.com. If you want, I can tailor this into a video script with timestamps, visuals, and narration cues for your 15-minute YouTube story. Just let me know.